The story of Australia's 150 years of skiing heritage is entirely intertwined with the Kiandra Ski Club, the longest continuously running ski club in the world. With skiing's inherently European flavour, this historical fact often comes as a surprise that underpins Australia's love of the snow, its sophisticated resorts, and its international success in competitive snow sport. In 1859, halfway between Sydney and Melbourne, in an area known as Giandarra, gold was discovered. Understandably, a rush followed. Many thousands of miners ascended to the district within months, and a town named Kiandra was proclaimed.
Skiing got started in Australia when 3 Norwegian ship's carpenters went to Kiandra chasing gold. It was a tremendous snowstorm and a lot of people were dying, so there was a need for mobility and to get around.
In response, Norwegian miners manufactured over 40 pairs of their homeland-style shoe, together with a round-ended pole. The pole was placed between the legs and sat upon to act as a brake. Not only had the experienced Norwegian ship's carpenters made scores of snowshoes, they had also trained other group members on how to use them, providing evidence that a ski club had been formed. In August 1861, the club held a well-documented skiing exhibition. The participants, known as riders, rode on both snowshoes and short broad skis described as skates, which were regarded as a novelty at first, but eventually proved to be the forerunner of the Kiandra Kick-In, a ski designed for downhill alpine racing. The Kiandra Kick-In's binding was a simple strap across the gumboots the riders wore. Later versions were to be known as the Butter Pat. By the 1880s, club executives included state governors, premiers, and other notables such as Banjo Paterson. Club organised downhill snowshoe riding and skiing had not commenced as a sport in Europe other than Scandinavia until over a quarter of a century after Australia. The Southern Hemisphere history of skiing has been dramatically retarded by the incorrect belief that on this continent we only toyed with skis made from palings. In actual fact, the Kiandra Butter Pat was the original ski made specifically for alpine downhill racing. It was on this type of ski and on our mountains that the land down under hosted the world's first documented international snowshoe carnival. The year was 1908. 16 years before the first Winter Olympics. Soon after the turn of the century, a new road was constructed from Cooma towards Mount Kosciuszko, making travel from Sydney much easier. With the snow considerably more dependable in these more southern regions, the sport of skiing became readily available to a wider population. The influence of new ski instructors from Central Europe further enhanced the development of the sport. New clubs were formed, and before long, inter-club race days were commonplace and snowshoes were called skis, heralding the name change from Kiandra Snowshoe Club to Ski Club. Around this time, accessible destinations began to offer more. In Victoria, the government played its part opening the Buffalo Chalet in 1910 and Feathertop Bungalow to augment the St Bernard Hospice. In New South Wales, the Kosciuszko Hotel was built in 1909. The 1920s and 30s were when Australia began to participate on skiing's world stage in Europe. After the 1924 Olympics, ski competitions in Australia were lifted to a new plateau in both jumping and lunglauf, resulting in a new generation of Australian champions, including 5 times Australian ski jump champion George Doran, along with George Ahlberg and Bill Paterick. In 1928, the New South Wales government announced it would build a chalet at Charlotte Pass. The Kosciuszko Chalet was opened in 1930. In 1939, Smig & Holes Cafe was established to service skiers en route to Charlotte Pass and Mount Kosciuszko. The method of travel in those days consisted of horse-drawn sleighs to Smig & Holes, then arduous journeys on snow skis to Mount Kosciuszko. As the number of skiers increased, services, facilities and means of access were improved, and Perish's first lodges were constructed in 1952. Meanwhile, the Kiandra Club was also evolving. Snow depths on average remained consistently high well after the turn of the century, with skiing the lifeblood of the Kiandra township. In 1941, the courthouse was converted into the Kiandra Ski Chalet. Work for the building of a new clubhouse commenced on New Year's Day 1955 by descendants of the original 1861 members.
It's a little known fact that when the Cayandra Ski Club was in Cayandra, we skied regularly on good depths of snow. I'll leave this to the scientist, that the club generally believes that when the Snowy Mountain skiing was completed, it affected the snowfall, and we moved then to Perisher Valley.
Further afield, at the rapidly growing resorts, mechanisation was in full swing. In 1958, a sophisticated rope tow was built at North Perisher, and soon after, Perisher's first T-bar. Mount Perisher Double Chair was opened in 1962. After the opening of the first chairlift, T-bar expansion and rope tows, the Perisher area thrived. Large companies were now very interested in the resorts spreading across the Alps. The financial success of the region seemed assured. Major players included Lend-Lease, Consolidated Press and Murray Publishers. Now in the 21st century, we have an amazing array of resorts and facilities competing on an international stage to lure snow lovers from around the globe. Australian snow sport champions are household names at home and recognised athletes around the world. Talents like Stephen Lee, Kirsty Marshall, Zali Stegel, Jackie Cooper, Elisa Camplin, Dale Begg-Smith, Lydia Lassila and Tora Bright all inspire Aussie kids to excel and international visitors to wonder, what do they put in the snow in Australia? As for the Cayandra Ski Club, after starting it all, they still thrive. In 1966, Cayandra Pioneer Ski Club moved to Perisher Valley, where it remains to this day as a non-racing family-type club with a desire to do all it can to promote its unique history. The club looks forward to the day that all Australians are proud in the knowledge that alpine skiing as a sport commenced here on our uniquely Aussie slopes.
In 2011, Australia is celebrating its 150th anniversary of skiing. This is a wonderful thing, and the world now should recognise Australia's place in this sport.